We are currently receiving countless reports. If you see another person that looks identical to you, run away and hide. If you see a person that has a biologically impossible characteristic, run away.
If you grew up in the early 2000s, you're probably familiar with this image. Or this one. And this guy. And we're probably told this guy was real by one of your classmates. There are countless of these characters that are existed in memes and other internet media that most of us, growing up in the digital age, have encountered intentionally or against our will. The media we watch has changed a lot with the introduction of the internet, especially horror content. With the tools we have now for content creation, there are more possibilities than ever to get creative in immersing your audience or manipulating them. Viewing things online suspends your disbelief in a way no other medium is able to, giving creators the opportunity to influence your thinking. This is an effective tool for immersion, but a dangerous one for us as a society. Before we start analyzing this type of content, I'm going to explain some of the biggest digital horror categories. Put simply, a creepypasta is a horror short story. The start of creepypastas can be aligned to the time when the internet became something everyone had access to in their homes. Many credit the first ever creepypasta to the story Ted the Caver, which is a blog about Ted and his group of friends getting lost in a cave. It was made around 2001, with social forum sites where users can share all forms of media in specific communities like 4chan and Reddit becoming popular. This form of storytelling became more popular along with it. A few years later, we get the appearance of probably the most iconic internet horror icon, Slender Man. He was made during a Photoshop contest as a slender, white-faced man that appeared in the back of photos, often targeting children. As these images spread, many didn't stop to clarify that these images were fabricated, and the mythos grew. Because these images were often seen with no context, or with someone presenting them as real, many just assumed they were. While a tall, skeletal-looking man might not seem like the most scary monster in a movie, when met with the thought that it might be real, the impact is heightened. This was proven to be true in 2014 when the Slenderman stabbing occurred. This took place when two 12-year-old girls in Waukesha, Wisconsin lured their best friend into the woods. They then stabbed her 19 times with the motive of serving Slenderman. They believed Slenderman would hurt their families if they didn't please him. Fortunately, the girl survived, and her two assaulters were sentenced to 20 and 40 years in a psychiatry ward. After this incident, members of the Creepypasta community held a 24-hour live stream to raise money. This showed how when a piece of media is presented as real, it can have a very different impact than things like movies and TV. This invention contributed to the wave of panic parents were experiencing about the safety of young children on the internet. The reason this was more effective than something you might see in a movie is how it was presented as real, and how it was targeted to children who are more inclined to see what they believe. The original photos were so convincing that many just accepted them as real with no context, or with the provided context of a creator telling them that it was real. This can be very deceiving and convincing for young consumers. I don't think I could make this video without covering Project SCP. Also getting us started on 4chan, SCP, or Secure, Contain, Protect, is a collaborative online writing project that started around the same time as other creepypastas in 2007. Writers create short stories posing as scientists giving research reports on various creatures. What set the SCP apart from other creepypastas was its style. It was written and formatted like internal documentation stating facts, scientific description, and procedures. The piece named SCP-173 soon gained a cult following, spawning numerous other pieces that followed the format and built on the story and organization. This displays how giving lots of information, true or not, can make an author seem credible, and, like the information is backed by facts. You can probably think of another setting where this technique is used to manipulate or stretch the truth. SCP spawned out of the world of creepypasta, and it demonstrates the evolution of creepypasta's evolution. Perhaps the most clear of these evolutions is the concept of community and creativity. Much like how creepypasta left horror open to anyone with access to internet, and thus opened doors for aspiring writers to get their work out easily to a community of like-minded fans. The SCP project remains its community element, allowing all entries on the site to be made by anyone. The evolution, however, becomes evident in how the SCP project made greater use of this as they introduced quality control, community voting to ensure a certain amount of continuity. Unlike creepypastas, who partially fell victim to the oversaturation of mediocre and outright poor quality works produced by its community. Creepypastas gained more popularity over the next few years, some of the most popular ones being Jeff the Killer, Sonic EXE, and The Backrooms. These ideas inspired many fan games as well. After 2014, creepypastas began to decline in popularity due to the community decreasing in size and, as stated before, the oversaturation of bad quality stories. Despite this, its legacy lives on in many places. Creepypastas profoundly shaped how horror would be experienced in the internet age. Its popularity was enough to attract mainstream attention. ARGs, or alternate reality games, are a direct evolution of creepypastas. This can be a broad category, and I'm choosing to define it as a narrative that tells a story in a fictional world that uses unconventional digital methods to express the narrative and to present itself as non-fiction. This includes things like web series of short stories. It's probably just easier to show you some examples.
There are no faces.
Transitioning more into the video category, one of the biggest ARGs is the Mandela Catalog, which inspired a series of analog horror videos posted primarily on YouTube. These series pretended to be an emergency announcement service instructing you how to survive against horror entities. The analog horror category can also be recognized by emulating vintage technology to enhance creepiness of a video. Like with Slenderman, the old, bad quality of these medium hides things that would make them easily identifiable as fictional. In the ARG categories, some examples are video games. I'd like to talk about Petscop, but that would be a whole other video. So for now, I'm just going to cover Doki Doki Literature Club. This game poses as a dating simulator, but as you progress through the game, it becomes clear you are playing a psychological horror. One of the characters in the game breaks the fourth wall by accessing your Steam name, changing files on your computer, and other methods of inserting itself into the narrative. This way of inserting the actual player into the narrative is so unique. A common technique of digital horror is making the viewer of the content part of the narrative by making the actual content something that exists in the fictional world. I think Doki Doki is a perfect example because the character he plays in the game is just you in real life. The plot of the game is a video game character becoming real and trying to trap the person playing forever, and the person playing is just you in real life playing the game. Hopefully you're following. This exemplifies fiction presented as non-fiction, unlike the others, because it attempts to break the line between two by inserting the viewer into the narrative, an effective tool for immersion, but when does it go too far? When does the media being created just become the thing it is portraying? This will be explored next in the next category. Found footage films are a perfect display of the tactic of presenting the audience with a medium they're familiar with in order to make them subconsciously believe what they're watching is real. The genre start can be credited largely to the Blair Witch Project. This film was created by graduate students with only a $35,000 production cost, and it exploded overnight. The film also released with a website, posing as something created by the characters in the film that gave you more information that wasn't necessarily shown on the screen. This is another example of using the digital medium to further immersion. It was also marketed with missing posters of the actors. This caused people to call the police and attempt to save these characters in real life. It wasn't like Slenderman anymore, because now grown adults were convinced a fictional world was the same as the real one. Because some believed this, the viewing experience was heightened dramatically. Imagine watching a movie like Godzilla. On its own, maybe not that scary, but watching it under the lens that this is a real event happening, it goes from a cheesy monster movie to a national tragedy. Mark Gracer and Dan Hayes went into detail on this, noting that calmer heads are realizing that the Blair Witch site was not an added-on marketing tool, but was designed to be part of the film experience, one that tapped into fans of the horror genre. In describing the success of the Blair Witch Project, Olivia Waxner has also linked the film's technological and successful computer-based promotion. As she comments, its success must be partially attributed to the heavy promotion of the movie on the internet, and that makes sense. It's a movie for men and women who prefer to see the world entirely through technology. It's nature downloaded. My next example is Be My Cat Anne by Romanian filmmaker Adrian Tofi.
Hello Anne, my name is Adrian. I'm from Romania and I want to make a movie with you. I saw you in Dark Knight Rises and you're my actress. This is a film I'm making right now to convince you to come here and make that movie with me.
This found footage film follows a stalker obsessed with Anne Hathaway, creating a film for her. The main character in this film breaks the fourth wall by presenting the video you're watching as the direct journals of this insane person. Because of this, it feels more personal, and the uncomfortableness is amplified. It makes you feel like you stumbled across this private moment, something you shouldn't be seeing. A character in the movie even called the police while in character, and they just let the scene play out. It begs the question that if you're still performing the acts, is it really just for a film, or are you partaking in the thing you set out to emulate or critique? It also displays how many people will just mindlessly consume what they are shown. While the average person watching this video would think it obvious, it has become clear in recent times that people need to be expressly told when something is fabricated. All of these works have things in common despite being created in different mediums. They use familiar methods to subvert your expectations and make themselves appear real. They attempt to blur the line between fiction and reality, and also present themselves as something other than horror. Doki Doki presenting itself as a dating simulator, Be My Cat presenting as footage that has been found from a serial killer, SCP presenting as documents found from a secret organization. All these stories act as if they exist in the real world in an attempt to make you believe. The ultimate level of immersion, by inserting the viewer into the narrative. The blending of fiction and reality in online horror taps into the unique capabilities of digital spaces. Formats like Creepypastas, ARGs, and found footage leverage familiar digital environments to immerse audiences and heighten the impact of fear. These stories impacted a generation raised in the digital age, but also blur the lines between reality and fiction, making the horror feel real and more personal. As a result, digital horror has created a cultural phenomenon that influences both the creators and the consumers ensuring its lasting legacy. We as a society need to be able to distinguish the line between reality and fiction. Reality is incredibly important when making decisions. It is now more difficult than ever to distinguish what is fabricated versus what is fact. In an era where we're faced with countless online stories and opinions, media literacy has never been more important. We must ensure that the next generation does not follow the agendas of the internet as we have. To end, I will quote Professor Janet Murray in her studies of electronic narrative forms. The computer is chameleonic. It can be seen as a theater, a town hall, an unraveling book, an animated wonderland, a sports arena, and even a potential life form. But it is first and foremost a representational medium, a means for modeling the world that added its own potent properties to the traditional media it has assimilated so quickly. Thank you for watching, and remember to question everything you see.